All right, thing two, there's a new state regulatory authority to fast track energy grid expansion. And this comes in the name of clean energy. Um, 2019 was when Washington passed the Clean Energy Transformation Act, CETA, to call for a carbon free grid here in the state of Washington by 2045. And that legislation said if the state can't keep up with expectations of the law, lawmakers would have to come back and find another way to make sure we could build out a transmission network that could still meet those clean energy goals. There is some major pushback on legislation that passed under Senate Bill 6355, passed the second to the last day of this session. Here are a couple of the stakeholders at a late February public hearing on Senate Bill 6355.
We have some important concerns that we hope can get considered. First, more transmission lines will mean a greater risk of utility-caused wildfires, and fire liability and risk needs to be a greater part of this transmission discussion. I know it's included to the bill to a certain extent. We're hoping to see that expanded. Number two, transmission corridor roads aren't held to the same high environmental standards that forest roads are, but we feel that they should be required to protect salmon and water quality to the same extent that we have to. Forest landowners can offer important insights to these and other issues if we're included on the board of directors created by the bill or consulted in some other capacity, and we hope to stay engaged on this bill.
We certainly support the need for new transmission to deliver clean energy to load centers so we maintain reliability. Where we think this bill misses the mark is it really doesn't get at the primary issues of building transmission, which is the extraordinary uncertainty in time for siting and permitting. We appreciate there's language in the bill to consult with existing transmission owners and to defer to private developers that may want to embark on priority projects. But we think the state might have a better role in terms of facilitating some of the pre-construction phase of transmission development, which wouldn't necessarily require standing up a new authority. Thank you.
Now, the Seattle Times put out an editorial in support of the bill, basically saying that, we need to protect the grid. We need to expand the grid. Clean energy goals are most important, but we need to have this new regulatory board so that we can make sure these things happen. We don't roll back our clean energy goals because at this point, we've already got a grid that can't hold up to the rapid expansion of data centers. And when we have super hot days and everyone's running their AC, or super cold days and all of us have our heaters running overtime. So Seattle Times put out the editorial supporting the legislation. Representative Mary Diab Pomeroy spoke to me on Thursday, the last day of the session last week. She is the ranking Republican on the Senate Environment and Energy Committee. This bill should have come up through her policy committee. It did not. Instead, it went directly to a fiscal committee because there was a cost with this new board. So she spoke with me last week about her concerns with the bill.
The motivation is to build enough infrastructure that they can incentivize more wind and solar being built in Eastern Washington. But what the bill does is that it creates a state electrical transmission authority, and that transmission authority has a tremendous amount of power in terms of how much authority they have for developing corridors, using eminent domain. It would contemplate that the transmission authority could actually build and own transmission if they can't get partners or industry. But the way transmission is done now, it's done through private sector companies. Why do we need to make a new bureaucracy when we've heard all year long, the budget, the budget, the budget, we don't have enough money? One of the things that really troubled me about it was that when I reached out to the counties that would be affected by having these transmission corridors, they were really not aware that this bill was even being considered and what it did.
So what this new power grid authority means for landowners in central and eastern Washington is what we are going to be watching for. Eminent domain is the big red flag here for opponents, in the name of putting all this new grid power in, we're needing to take your property at whatever rate. So that's going to meet some major opposition in central and eastern Washington. And as Dodd pointed out, we've got counties in much of the state that had no idea this bill was even coming. So I know there's going to be major pushback. We're going to be watching for that for you.